Hello there.
The Emperor has been expecting you.
What is up, everybody? Josh here with Lorgasm, and today let's talk about WandaVision Episode 6. This is the Halloween episode. This episode started straight off with the title sequence, which is they were going from a 90s show, so this one was going off of Malcolm in the Middle. And then right after the title sequence, we get the boys talking straight to the camera, just like Malcolm in the Middle. They were talking about what Halloween means to them, and then Tommy said he's the cool brother, and Billy's the dork one.
A Dorkosaurus Rex. Not a real dinosaur.
And then they look at Pietro, and he is sleeping on the couch. And they were talking about how cool he was, and then he ends up fake sleeping, just listening to him. He, throughout this episode, like when the boys are like talking to the camera and stuff, he's literally just watching them talk to the camera.
Not fighting, just like different.
He also says some things later in the episode that make it seem like he knows a lot of what's going on. But then he gets up and starts chasing them around. And then Wanda comes down in her comic book outfit, which just looks amazing on her. And she says it's a Sokovian fortune teller, which is cool.
I'm a Sokovian fortune teller.
And then Vision comes down in his comic book outfit, and then they play it off as if that is like a luchador costume.
I know you have a secret thing for Mexican wrestlers.
He mentions that Wanda's never talked to him about her brother, and he didn't realize he was going to be so good with kids. He said that being sarcastic. Vision then mentions that he has to go off and do some neighborhood watch stuff, and then Wanda's like, yeah, that's not what you're supposed to. I mean, you didn't tell me you had plans. So right there, he's not following through with what her plan for the episode is. And he's just like, what? I'm telling you now. Because she can't, like, physically control him. And then he dips out. Pietro comes over and was like, yo, if you need a male figure to take them out trick-or-treating, I'm right here. So they go with that plan. We then cut to the sword base. They're bringing in the drone. Monica confronts Hayward about the missile and the drone and what happened with Wanda. And then Darcy makes a smart comment to Hayward, and he's like, you know what? Get her, get Monica, get Jimmy out of here. Like, I'm tired of all of them. Him and Monica get an argument, and he's like, you know what? Maybe it's good you weren't here when she died, because you would not be able to handle this position right now. He is a jerk. As the three of them are getting escorted out, they knock out their escorts, and then Darcy's just standing there like, yo, I wish somebody would have told me that this was going to go down. And then they throw on some ponchos, and they try to sneak around to see what Hayward's up to. We cut back into the Hex, where the boys and all of them are going trick-or-treating. They talk to the camera, they say it's game time, and then they take off running. Pietro yells, unleash hell, demon spawn, because he's Mephisto and they're his kids.
Unleash hell, demon spawn!
Yeah. And then Wanda tries to test him on some detail from when they were kids, and he's like, you're testing me. She's like, no, I'm not. He's like, it's cool. I know I look different. She's like, why do you look different though? That pretty much cuts off right there. He offers to help the kids maximize their efforts on getting the candy. So then he grabs them and takes off. Tommy says kick ass, and then Wanda says kick ass, which is funny because Evan Peters and Aaron Taylor Johnson, the Quicksilver originally, both are in the movie Kick-Ass together, and they're best friends in it. Wanda then talks to Herb to see how everything is going, or he starts getting reports that things are happening, but they start happening after he says them, which is really weird. It's like he's ahead of schedule, or Evan Peters and the kids are behind schedule for what was planned. So maybe things were planned a little different because Vision was supposed to be there. She then asked how Vision's doing on his neighborhood watch, and Herb says Vision's not even scheduled tonight. So he just straight up lied to Wanda. And then he breaks character and says, do you need me to fix anything? You want anything changed?
Is there something I can do for you, Wanda? Do you want something changed?
She says, no, it's cool. And then we see Vision walking around town, and you see all the kids running around, but then he looks over at a house, and there's a lady putting up decorations with a tear coming down her face, like she's in pain, but like Wanda has control over her but not full control. So I feel like Wanda, since she's like the center, she has more control over everybody in the center, and the farther out she still has control over them, but she doesn't have as much power to control them in general. Like, she has a limit to how many people she can force to do things at a time. He then continues to keep walking through the town because he's doing more investigating. And then here is when we get another commercial. And this one reminds me of like the old Capri Sun commercials from back in the day. A shark comes out of the water with Yo Magic yogurt and gives it to the kid who's starving, and the shark's like, yo, and the kid's like, yo, can I have some of that yogurt? And the shark's like, yeah, bro. Hands him the yogurt, and then the shark takes off, but then the kid can't even get it open, and then he just starves to death, and you see him turn into a skeleton. And then the slogan is Yo Magic, the snack for survivors. And this one, all the commercials are going in order for big events that happen in Wanda's life. Now, I know some people are saying that they're connected to each Infinity Stone, and she's literally creating each Infinity Stone over again through these commercials. But if you pay attention, literally the commercials are going through each big event of her life. And the last commercial was Lagos. Lagos was in Civil War. The next big event that happened, was there another event in Civil War? No, she just fought. And then her and Vision kind of ran their way together. And then we get Infinity War. This has to do with Infinity. Okay, so what this is because the kid couldn't open it. And then he died. Because he couldn't open the magic. Because he couldn't do the magic that he should have done. Or because he couldn't eat what he needed to eat to survive. So this represents Wanda not doing the magic to destroy the stone in Vision's head, to where if she would have did it, they would have survived. Yes, she ends up doing it. But she does it too late. Like with the kid, it was too late. He died. So that's what this could be the only real thing that this represents, because that's literally the next big event in her life that happened. She didn't use her magic in time to destroy the stone, because she should have did that to begin with, but she was too sentimental, and then Captain America's like, oh, we don't trade lives, which he should have, because Vision is a synthezoid computer robot thing, and then none of Endgame would have happened. But if she would have destroyed that and used her magic, she would have survived. Everyone would have survived except Vision. Vision would be dead. So that has to be what that commercial represents. We then come back to Wanda and Pietro, and he's talking about how he can't believe that she's making the kids return all the candy, and she's like, I can't believe you're acting the way you are. And he's like, yo, I'm just doing my job. I'm supposed to come back to town, give you grief, give Vision trouble. And then he says, that's what you wanted, right? And then she's like, what happened to your accent? And he's like, what happened to yours? Was he brought here by Wanda, even though she said that she didn't do it? Or is he like implanting memories into her head, trying to make her feel like that she brought him, or that he was like, he's actually her brother and stuff, because he's Mephisto or Nightmare? That's the other big theory that's going on right now, is Nightmare, because Mephisto is too much like the devil, and then China and stuff. I'm not going to get into it here. And then he says, I got shot like a chump in the street for no reason at all, even though the actual Quicksilver did it to save lives because he wanted to be a hero.
You didn't see that coming.
And then he said next thing he knew, he heard her calling, and then he showed up. And then Tommy unlocks his powers right there and goes and grabs some candy bars, and then takes Billy with him to go pick up more candy bars. And Wanda says, yeah, they can go out, just don't go past Ellis Avenue. We cut back to the Sword base, and we see Darcy hacking into the main system to see what's going on, and finds out that Hayward is tracking disintegrating vibranium. So he's tracking Vision. And then we cut back to Vision, and Vision tries talking to somebody, but they won't respond. So he flies up in the air and sees a car sitting at the edge of town. And he goes to talk. and it's Agnes. And she's acting like she's frozen there, but she's not, because then she starts to talk a little bit and she moves.
Town Square Scare. Where is it?
And then he zaps her head, and then she starts giving out information.
Am I dead?
No, no. Why would you think that?
Because you are.
And she asks if Vision's there to save them because he's one of the Avengers. And he's like, what are the Avengers? Because he doesn't remember anything.
Before what? Before what? I can't remember my life before Westview. I don't know who I am.
And then she says that Wanda won't even let them leave or even think about leaving, and nobody leaves. And then she starts laughing, like cackling like a witch. And Vision puts her back in her trance, even though she's faking it. How come she's the only one at the edge of town that can talk and move before Vision touches them? How? And what Vision should have been doing was tapping each of these people on the head and making them run towards the edge to try to bust them out. But then she just turns her car around and then heads back into town. So he starts walking past Ellis Avenue. We come back to Monica and the crew, and she says that her contact will be there in an hour, her aerospace engineer. And Darcy's looking at Monica's labs, and it's showing that her genes got messed with twice from flying through the hex. So she's going to become Photon. So then Monica and Jimmy take off to go meet this contact, and Darcy stays to keep an eye on Hayward. And we cut back into Westview, and Wanda and Pietro are talking. They bring up their mom and dad. Pietro leans over and says, where have you been hiding all these kids this whole time? And she's like, what? Acting like she's surprised. And he's like, no, like, I respect it. Like, this is dope. And she's surprised by that. And then he's like, but how did you do all this? And she's like, I don't know. And then all she remembers is being alone and feeling nothing. And then she turns around and sees, like, the dead version of him with gunshots, which was cool. And while Darcy's digging through Hayward's stuff, she sees that Vision is heading towards the edge of the hex. We then see Vision walking up to the edge of the hex and start to walk through it. And then we cut back to the sword camp, and all the cars are pulling up. He starts walking through the hex, and as he does, pieces of him start disintegrating off of him. And Darcy runs up saying, why aren't you helping him, to Hayward, because him and all his men are just standing there. And he locks her up, handcuffs her to the car. At this point, Billy, or Wiccan, starts to get his power, and he can see his dad disintegrating. He can see all the soldiers around him. So he goes and asks his mom for help. And she's like, where is he? And she's trying to pinpoint him. And then he tells her where Vision's at. At the same time, Vision's like asking them to help everybody in the town. Now what's cool about this is the Mind Stone that's in Vision's head is actually there in real life now. Now obviously things are going to change here in a second. But that's cool that in the real world that the Mind Stone was brought back, technically, in Vision's head. While they are figuring out where Vision is, Quicksilver says, hey, don't sweat it. It's not like your dead husband can die twice. So, freaking Mephisto here knows everything. Nightmare, whatever you want to call him. And then Wanda just turns around and blasts him back. Like, shut up. That was funny. So they get the read on where Vision's at, and then Wanda's eyes glow red, and she just goes, everyone in the town pauses, and the hex just expands. Hayward sees that the hex is expanding, so he jumps in the car, and he, like, takes off. Everyone starts running, but then you see, like, the hex slowly overtake everybody. The whole sword camp starts turning into a carnival. And you see two guys running, they turn into a clown, some people turn into mimes. You start to see like the hex go over Darcy, but you do not see what she turns into. So I'm excited to see what she turns into. The hex is like chasing Hayward, and it barely gets the back of his car, but he's still going. The episode ends with the hex still expanding, so we'll see next week how like how far it gets. Now this episode I'd give like a 9.8. The last episode I gave a 9.9. I really like the confrontation of the last episode between Wanda and Vision. Like this episode was just as good, but I was really enjoying the confrontation. I want to see like a big fight. One of my big things I feel is that Wanda is going to have to kill Vision again, and that will be awesome if it happens. I'm pretty sure it happens, because in Spider-Man they still say Vision's dead. 90% sure that Evan Peters is Mephisto/Nightmare. I'm excited to see who this aerospace engineer is. That's going to be cool. I'm really excited to see what Darcy is. Is she going to be like some human vehicle hybrid thing? I don't know. Is she going to be like locked up as if she's in jail? Maybe. I'm just excited to see like what, because she's connected to the car, so it, the Hex might try to turn her into something with the car. Is everybody at Sword going to get powers now? Because Monica her DNA's changing, that she's gonna get powers. Now everybody else went through the Hex. Are they gonna get powers? And what the heck was up with Agnes, man? That was crazy. Like her just sitting there pretending like she's frozen, but then she still talks and moves before Vision touches her, and she's the only one on the outskirts of town that can do that. Come on. Come on. You can't tell me she just happens to be the only one that far out of town that can move still and talk? No way. That's literally the specific reason why they showed Vision trying to talk to somebody and not getting a response 2 seconds before, is to show that Agnes can talk and something is up. I really think next week is going to be the sitcoms. There wasn't really many sitcoms in the 2000s, unless we go straight to Disney, which just happens to be the company that owns this. I think they might try to focus on the episode being like a Sweet Life of Zack and Cody episode, because that was in the 2000s and it has to do with twins. But they're definitely going to do something with the carnival too, so I'm not sure. And they might do something with That So Raven because of premonitions and stuff. Maybe Wiccan starts getting premonitions. I don't think they're going to touch on Hannah Montana, somebody living a double life. I mean, they might, but I doubt that. But I really feel like next week's gonna be like a Zack and Cody based episode. A-okay in my book. That sounds dope. Alright, yeah, so 9.8. Pretty dope. Can't wait for next week. We got 3 episodes left, and I think they said about 3 hours of content left. So hopefully it's like an hour per episode. That should be cool. So that's all I got for you today. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.